Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Facebook Live session with Williamson County Schools Superintendent Jason Golden. I'm Carol Birdsong, and for the next 30 minutes, we will be taking your questions, and Jason will be answering them. And we want to encourage you that if you want to ask a question, please go to the comments section under the Facebook Live post and leave your comment there or your question there, and we will do our best to get to that. Some folks have already sent in questions, but before we start, I have to talk about Creekside Elementary School because we both started our day there this morning, and it was such fun.
It was great.
I mean, what a wonderful opening.
Yeah, so Creekside Elementary opened up today. The first day students were actually in class, and it was a really neat opening. We've done some openings, of course, because Williamson County is growing. This is the first one since I've been here, and maybe since you've been here, that we opened during the school year, not at the beginning of the school year.
I remember a couple, so.
Okay, so Winstead had that opening when it opened, and also Oakview opened the same way in the middle of the school year. Once again, we split the Oakview zone because of growth, and another school in that area opened up in the middle of the school year. So it was a really neat thing.
It was fun to be out there. The staff was so excited. The students were so excited, and
yeah, one of the things I mentioned to a couple of people that really struck me was there was student artwork in the hallways.
Already.
And that's something you don't see the very first day of school, right? Because students haven't prepared it yet. So I really appreciate the faculty and staff getting together and making sure that it was home on day one for those students.
Very, very exciting out there. And we're going to have our ribbon cutting, our official ribbon cutting and opening for the building on Sunday. So
that's right. The ribbon cutting Sunday at 2 p.m. And it's going to be inside, so no matter what the weather is like, we're going to be in the gym.
Because it was a little cold out there.
A little chilly.
It's
not like a July opening that we're so used to.
Right.
I did want to mention one other thing about that. After we finished at Creekside, I drove over to Oakview Elementary School. And it was the first day they've had with a little bit of elbow room. And one of the things that was neat to see was there were actually PTO members working in a classroom that had just been vacated. They were cleaning tape off the walls, doing a little extra work, continuing to work and prepare for the school. And I just love seeing that, knowing that Oakview is a wonderful community. As that area has grown so much south of Franklin, it's neat to see our parents step up and really support the school. So I think everyone is very happy with the opening. I think some of the students are going to miss their friends a little bit. Some of the teachers are going to miss seeing some of their colleagues on a daily basis. But with growth, that's inevitable. And I love seeing the instruction going on at Oakview even today.
That's great. That's great. And what we would not be the district that we are without the parental and community involvement that we have in Williamson County Schools. So I always say it's second to none.
I agree with that.
Yeah. We had a school board meeting last night.
That's right.
And so there are some things that we probably need to share with our viewers. We have a new name for our newest school. So Creekside is School 48. We're going to open a middle school in August, School 49. And it has a name.
Well, what's nice about this is we don't number our schools like maybe New York City. We don't have that many, so we actually are able to give them names. We actually have a structure, a policy that describes a committee structure for the community to contribute to thoughts related to the names. And our policy requires that committee to give 3 names to the board, and then the board debates after hearing from the community. The board had 3 choices. There was a really good, lively discussion, not just during the board meeting, but during the work session, from the community, electronic communications, all the ways we communicate these days. And our board landed on Legacy Middle School.
That's right.
So that's the new name of the school, Legacy Middle School.
Legacy Middle School. And I know that if you are a family rezoned to Legacy, that Principal Alicia Justice is already communicating with you, and she'll be asking for your input as they move forward, kind of waiting on the name, and now they can start getting the PTO established and mascots selected and all that. So be on the lookout for communication from Ms. Justice.
One of the things I thought about as they were going through the process, and ultimately after the vote last night, was thought about Franklin Special having Freedom Middle School, Freedom Intermediate. I know they have that. We have Heritage, Independence, and now Legacy, and those conceptual words and the scope of what they mean. It's really interesting to me that in this community we've selected, not just us but Franklin Special, those words that have a concept to them, not necessarily a region. So there's been a broad scope of choices over the course of time, whether it's geography, history, or even these concepts. People, we have a few named after people. It's been a long time since we've named one after a person.
Well, speaking of schools, growth, all that you continually deal with, we do have a question from Krista on Facebook, and she's wondering if we have any land purchased for a school elementary school in the Triune area.
Well, that elementary school we call it East Central, or the Far East maybe of the county, is our next planned elementary school. We are going through the process of vetting land. We have not actually purchased any. We've actually found a willing seller that we're doing some studies on some land to determine if the land can actually sustain a school. We have to do a lot of environmental studies on the land, some geotechnical studies to make sure that the particular lands can support a school, checking for floodplains, even things like utilities, those kinds of things it takes to build a school. So we're in the vetting process right now for some land.
You know, we used to not do that. Do you remember? Were you here when we first started the geo?
Well, I tell you,
whatever stuff that we did?
I did a lot of work like that years ago, and worked with folks who did that. And in every one I've been involved in, we actually checked.
Yes,
so maybe that predates me.
It may, but it's kind of a smart thing to do.
Yeah, check the land to make sure it can actually hold the weight of the school.
Right. Okay, well, more growth coming. I know since we've had a Facebook Live, we have submitted our 5-year plan to the County Commission, which is something that we do annually. And more growth is more buildings, more additions, expansions, stuff.
We continue to grow, and we've been growing over the years from somewhere between 2.5% to 6%, depending on the year. And of course, from a percentage standpoint, every year you grow, you're a little bit bigger. So 1 percentage point means more students. Last year, we projected 1,048 students growth from the beginning of the year to the beginning of this year. Over Christmas, over the winter break, we actually went over that line. We had 115 new students from December to January enroll with us. And so we have grown since the beginning of last school year, somewhere around 1,100 students. And so we do continue to grow. 1,100 students, or let's say 1,048, like our projections, is more than a school, more than an elementary school. Our elementary schools are structured and designed to seat 890 students. The new Creekside Elementary has that capacity. Most of our students who move into the district are elementary school students. So I think of it in that context. We have 8 new schools on the books for the next 5 years. That's our 5-year capital plan. So if you think about 1,100 or so with an 890 capacity, it's going to take a little bit more than one school per year to maintain that growth. Obviously, middle school is being built. On top of that, we are also in the process of expanding our high schools. I
believe Independence, they're maybe moving into that new wing.
We're finishing up a wing at Independence High School, new classrooms. And we had a lot of discussion about this a couple of years ago, about that debate of do you build another high school, or do you increase the capacity of the existing high schools? And we have increased the capacity at Brentwood High, Franklin High, and now Independence High. We have on our plans to increase the capacity at Summit, and we're also doing a really major retooling of Page High School that's going to increase its capacity from about 1,200 to 2,000. So once that work is completed, we'll have close to a new school on Page's campus with some common areas still being used. But it's designed to accommodate the growth that's happening in that part of the county as well. We're doing some studies on Centennial as well, because we're thinking about the future and what that means. And so every one of our schools is getting that look as we grow, largely because it's a lot less expensive to add on a wing, if it can be done, than it is to build a whole new high school. With that being said, we do have one new high school on our 5-year capital plan for the west side of the county, and we project that it's likely to be either in the Grassland or the West Franklin area, kind of, but somewhere between New 96 and the Grassland community. We're hearing from folks about land, and our growth is going to drive that and where exactly that building is placed.
And I would say if anybody out there wanted to donate land to Williamson County Schools, you would consider accepting it.
Yeah. Now, Perry Creek Elementary was actually donated,
right,
from the developer. Southern Land donated that land to us, and so that was a real benefit to the taxpayers.
It's happened before.
Yes, that's right.
We could do that again if they were so willing to do so. So Nicole, along the same lines, Nicole on Instagram is asking, what is the process for updates to older schools versus brand new schools with new equipment?
Well, so number one, we do have on our 5-year capital plan renovations of schools, and we really have two main types of renovations. One is a renovation of the noticeable areas of a school. The flooring, the ceiling tiles, the walls, the doors, the door facings, the kind of work that just gets that wear and tear where people bump into things and scrape and that kind of thing. Our maintenance department does an analysis of the facilities in that context. Currently, we have 3 schools on a schedule, on our 5-year schedule for those kinds of renovations. Grassland Middle is the one I can think of off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the other two.
It's okay.
But we've done that kind of work at some of our Fairview schools in Brentwood, et cetera. So that's one kind. We also do a renovation when needed of some of our systems, the HVAC system, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system, electrical, those kinds of massive projects that somebody might not actually notice when we determine that they need some work. And that's through our scheduling as well. From an equipment standpoint, instructional equipment, we are constantly on a cycle with instructional equipment through our technology department. We go to the county commission on an annual basis with capital requests, not just for maintenance, but also for technology. And so ultimately, when you build a new school, you're going to get new equipment, but we are on a constant rotation with our computer equipment, with devices such as the screen behind us, to try to bring the best to our schools so that instruction can occur. And it's cyclical. A lot of it's driven by the lifespan of some of that equipment as we replace computers. We are currently piloting a program at Brentwood Middle, Independence High School, Lipscomb Elementary, and College Grove Elementary for allowing students to carry around devices with them over the course of the day. At the middle and high school, they're actually taking them home with them. We call it a one-to-one initiative, but the truth is we're pretty close to one-to-one even in school.
Again, thanks to our parent
PTOs.
PTOs who have helped us over the years. So.
A combination of the county commission funding us with capital and the PTOs really stepping up. But those computers, all of different ages, because we just don't buy, 40,000 computers at one time and wait and buy them again in 6 years. We have to balance that out. So we are doing some of that work and analyzing the impact of that on students, and those are a little bit newer devices that they're taking home with them. Generally speaking, we have found that it at least saves some time on instruction so that you don't have to, pull up a computer when you're doing the work, that students have those. They're used to those devices. And we're going to be doing an analysis of what it takes for every student to be able to do that on a regular basis. At the elementary level, instructionally, there's not as much need to take it home with them. And we're very careful and thoughtful about homework as well. And
we should say that when they do take it home, it remains on the network?
Yes, we actually have our systems, our filtering systems on our devices, so that somebody's using the devices, it has those filters, where we try to protect against, inappropriate materials for children. And we do that because it's important. But there's also laws that are designed to protect us. That is a constant challenge for us with the internet. So on maybe not quite a daily basis, but close, we are finding out about URLs that might be inappropriate, and that people can figure out ways to try to get through screens. So we're constantly working on that. We don't just put ourselves in place and just say, hey, we're good with those internet protections.
Our technology department does really a fabulous job, considering all of. It's 24/7. They're on it all the time, and once they find one thing, somebody's trying something else who's out there. So
when a parent looks at something on their home computer, they might see something pop up, but it might not necessarily pop up in Williamson County Schools because we have it protected.
Right. Lots of layers of protection there. I just have to give a shout out to Maddie on Instagram because she asked what the new school on Henpeck Lane would be, and we've already discussed that, but I did not give her a shout out, so I felt that I had to do that.
So we've answered Maddie's question.
We have answered Maddie's question.
I suspect, Carol, when she asked the question, the decision had not yet been made.
You are
because the decision was made
last night.
Yeah, just what, 14, 15 hours ago?
Yes,
something
not long
like
ago. You are correct.
As we're speaking now.
That's right. So, TJ on Instagram asked, what is your vision for Williamson County Schools?
Well, one thing that's great about Williamson County Schools is this is such a community effort. And so we spent some time a couple of years ago working on a strategic plan. And part of that plan talked about our vision. And our vision, our community vision, for our schools is that we will provide a supportive environment to students so that they can pursue excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts. That's the vision statement. I buy into that. I've been with the district around 14 years, and that is valuable to us. Earlier, when I first got here, our vision statement mentioned the phrase to become nationally recognized in those contexts. And so as our board went through this process of communicating with our students, communicating with our families, communicating with county leaders, that vision statement was revamped to talk about a supportive environment for students to allow students to pursue that excellence. So that's our vision. Let me put a little bit more meat on the bones from a strategic plan standpoint. We really have what I think of as three buckets for our strategic plan. One is the systems, and we spent some time already talking about that. That's about the facilities and the equipment for students and finding ways to improve that. The second bucket is about teachers and trying to find ways to staff and recruit the best we can. The teachers, administrators, all the support staff that serves our students. And the third element of it is preparing students for the future. And that's about our instructional programs. And so we really work to find ways to innovate at the high school level. You know, you think about CTE programs, we can get into some details related to that, to give students that opportunity to open doors for themselves with our programming. But it also is about elementary school and finding ways to help students learn how to read and get the content so that they can be prepared for the next step as well. I think of this in the context of opening doors for students, that really we're in the business of giving students opportunities. And that includes those basics of teaching students how to read, how to do math, to work their way up so that they can be prepared for that next step. It's also preparing them for whatever choice they make, whether they choose college, a technical school. We have some great technical schools in the state, military, going straight into the job world to try to give students those tools. So from a visioning standpoint, it's to allow students to prepare themselves to be excellent in whatever they choose to do.
Right. So let's go back to bucket number 2.
Okay.
And teachers.
Which one was? Oh, teachers.
That was teachers, yeah. There's a teacher shortage nationally, and we're going to be hiring. We hired, I think it was approximately 350 teachers last year. That's kind of we're about 300, 350 every year growth. People move with a spouse or for whatever reason out of the district. So we're always hiring. We have a big career fair coming up. The first week of March. I actually brought the flyer.
Ooh, okay.
I brought the flyer with us.
And we also have that posted on the internet as well.
We do. We are posting it anywhere we can possibly post it. But we want to get the best and the brightest quickly. Contracts, I understand, could possibly be offered on that day.
So I'm going to step back a little bit. You mentioned first the teacher shortage nationally. Our colleges are not producing as many teachers as the nation needs to teach. So it's really a great opportunity for careers for somebody who's thinking about teaching. Tennessee specifically needs to be an importer of teachers because we are growing faster than our colleges are producing teachers. So we actually recruit in Tennessee very heavily, obviously, but we also go beyond Tennessee in our recruiting for teachers just out of school. We recruit in Ohio, we recruit in Pennsylvania.
Right.
There are some states that are teacher exporters in the sense that they're producing at this moment more teachers than their population needs. But again, nationally, there's a shortage. So we have to make a real strong effort to recruit. We've talked about that in many contexts. One is we've been working the last couple of years to increase our teacher pay. We want our professionals to have a professional, livable wage. Just last year, our starting pay was $37,500 fresh out of college, and you can't live on that. Our commission really stepped up. Our community stepped up. We bumped up that number by about $3,000, and we continue to work on that to try to bump that up. And you know, people know the stereotype of teachers not getting paid well is true. I mean, and it is true. It's a professional job, and so we think it's important to emphasize that. Another thing we talk about is the quality of the work. One of the things that's great about our community is the parent support. And we talk to the teachers about that. That when you have your parents supporting you, when the whole community is working to serve students, it makes everybody's job just a little bit easier.
It's not like that in every other district.
Yeah,
and we are unique in that way.
I can talk about every aspect of our community that in some way is finding a way to support our children. Even our municipalities, who on paper don't have any duty to support the schools, have found ways to support us. I could rattle off examples from every one of our municipalities doing something to help our students. So it's really community effort here at Williamson County Schools. This train is rolling because of that community effort, because we were able to recruit teachers who want excellence with their students. And I will tell you also, in a special education setting, we're doing a really good job of serving students with disabilities, opening doors for them as well. From our early childhood program, where we're serving 3-year-olds to prepare them for their next step, right, which is kindergarten.
To transition.
That's right. We have a Transition 2 program that actually serves students up to age 22 to give them life skills so that they can find ways to take care of themselves as they get older as well. So
let's put a plug in for the career fair. Every administrative teams from every school will be there, and this career fair on March 7th is just for teachers. Just for teachers.
Thank you. March 7th, Teacher Career Fair. We do encourage teachers to come, and to your point, principals have the power to make an offer. If they have a space available next year based upon our growth projections, they have that opportunity to make a job offer at this career fair. So I know there may be some grad students or maybe family members of students who are finishing up college. Let that person you know that we're looking and that career fair is available. Pull it up on our website.
It's from 9 to noon at Centennial High School. Dress appropriately, bring your resume. If we want the best.
It's March 7th, so it's a little, a month and a half, something like that.
Got a month, time to get them on in here.
Right.
Yeah.
And students who are finishing up college are thinking about taking the praxis exam. Some of them may have already taken the praxis. That's a threshold exam to get a license in Tennessee, and it varies depending on their specialty. So if you know somebody, if you have a nephew or a niece or a child or a grandchild who's finishing up college, encourage them to come.
Yes, we definitely want the best and the brightest right here in Williamson County Schools to join the rest of our team. Also, always looking for bus drivers. Let's get a quick plug in for bus drivers.
So we have our professional staff, which are the licensed teachers, and then the state also calls everybody else classified staff, which are those that don't require teachers' licenses. And that's a lot of support work. It takes a lot to run a program that serves 41,000 children every day. Bus drivers are a big part of that. We have about 250 bus drivers. Nationally, especially in metropolitan areas, there is a shortage of bus drivers. It's not just us. And it's funny, I was talking to a reporter last night after the board meeting, and he shared that he'd looked something up and found in Kansas City, the discussion was it's not just a Kansas City issue. Or was it Houston? Well, in any event.
I don't think it matters. I think you could pick a city and We have the same issues.
When the economy's doing well, jobs are scarce for lots of employers, and that's the case for us with our bus drivers. We have a bus driver assigned to every route, but we are constantly searching to get enough substitute bus drivers. So we will get concerns and complaints from parents about the delay on a particular day. If somebody's out sick, it's rare that we're going to be able to find a substitute to immediately fill in. So we're juggling bus routes during those days to try to hit a stop or two to try to speed that up for children. We also have an issue. We have first and second loads in a lot of our areas, especially at the
And those are
elementary
planned.
level. Well, it's planned, but it's not what we want to do. So I think back to my time in Metro Atlanta when I was a child. I rode third load when I was in elementary school because I lived in Metro Atlanta in a high growth area. And so I would show up just a little bit before school started and then wait and watch Sesame Street. That doesn't date me because Sesame Street's still on. But I would also watch the Electric
But some
Company.
of the characters have changed, but okay, moving on.
And so during those elementary years, we were on third load. We actually have a lot of areas in Williamson County where we have first and second load. It's not because it's what we want to do, but it's because we don't have enough drivers to fill every route. So we are constantly recruiting. I am convinced that there are enough people out there who, if they had a personal request, would give it a shot. To become a bus driver. We actually have state trainers and state testers who are employed by WCS. We can give you the whole package of prep work so that you can drive. We offer health insurance for bus drivers.
We pay you to train?
For paid training, then your salary bumps up once you actually get your license. It's some morning work and it's some afternoon work. You also have the opportunities to do field trips, athletic events before after school. You don't have to do those things if you just want to work those few hours, but we do have those opportunities for that extra work. Again, I mentioned the teacher recruiting. If you know somebody who may be retired, and that just loves children, wants to do a service to the community, mention that to us. If you have somebody who wants some different hours, who wants to be on a schedule with their children, and they're working a retail job, mention this to them, that's a great opportunity. Our benefits through county government are really good benefits. The health insurance benefits, that may be a challenge for a lot of families. And so somebody who's running a regular route gets full-time pay even though they might not work 40 hours because the bus routes aren't that long.
I think you've done well putting that plug. We have not a lot of time left, but I have still two more questions for you. GD on Facebook says, while WCS is not ready to change middle and high school start times to 8:30 or later, please speak to your willingness to take other steps to protect students' sleep.
Well, start times changed a couple of years ago. You may remember this. Dr. Looney, who was the superintendent while I was the deputy superintendent, had actually moved the start times for all schools up about 20 minutes or so. Generally speaking, we had a 7:30 start and then an 8:30 start at the middle and high and the elementary. I'm speaking generally, not everybody was exactly that. We moved everything up 20 minutes. One of the things we heard from the municipalities is whatever you do, maintain some consistency, because every time the schools change, it has a big impact on traffic patterns across the community. And people see that when we have a day off, right? When schools are closed, obviously the roads loosen up because people aren't moving around as much. That's true in the summertime as well. Districts around Middle Tennessee are all over the place in their start times. Some students are starting as early as 7 a.m., even at the middle school level in some of our neighboring counties. So the question was, what in addition to start times are we looking at? So one of the great things we've done that's given some flexibility, especially to high school students, is we're in the second year of our online program. So students could choose to take an online class early. And when I'm talking about early, I'm talking about from a scheduling perspective. In other words, come into school just a little bit later if it's an issue for them, and then they can take their online coursework whenever they choose over the course of their day and do their work per the online program with some discretion for them. That's one option we offer. Also, there are some joint classes with Columbia State and MTSU where students can do a little bit of scheduling work to modify their schedule. So we've pushed the start times back a little bit for the middle and high a couple of years ago. Generally speaking, students are starting at 7:50. There's one or two 7:40s. Some students are actually choosing to do the EIC even a little bit earlier. the Entrepreneur and Innovation Center, which is one of our Career Tech programs, but they also have the option to do some of those classes later in the day. So part of it is offering options for students. There were a lot of extracurricular activities that occur before or after school, and so scheduling can be an issue for them as well. So it's a Middle Tennessee issue. It's a national issue. Extracurriculars are a big issue for us. Making sure that students get their events scheduled, in a reasonable time after school completes.
I think extracurricular activities are important for families. We do know that students perform better if they're involved.
We've heard from families on both ends of the spectrum who feel very strongly about their schedules. We've had some parents say, I want to make sure that my older child is home when my elementary child gets home, because we depend on them for babysitting. I've heard the opposite argument as well. I want my older child to be able to sleep in a little bit more than your schedule allows. And so the reality is it's a challenge, because there's no way that everybody can have it ideally set for them, but it's something that I still want to talk about, that I think it's still worth that conversation.
We have another question, and then we really are over time, but it's okay. Anna from on Instagram, quickly, what is your favorite book, or what are you reading right now?
Oh my favorite book.
I know you're going to go on and on, so just,
Well, it's hard, for anybody who grew up reading, it's hard to pick a favorite book. I think about the scope of what I read over time. I am currently reading a biography about Teddy Roosevelt. Okay. And I'm struggling for the actual title, but it's about Teddy Roosevelt's journey with his life struggles and how he succeeded through that. And actually, one of our principals gave me the book. Oh. Okay. And I see the cover, but I can't remember the title of it. Just look up Teddy Roosevelt biography. Okay. And I'm about maybe a third of the way into that. I love biographies. Historical fiction has always been enjoyable for me. Has anybody looked at those James Michener books that are about that thick? You get a little bit of picture, about what was going on in a particular community. I enjoyed those over the years. I will tell you that from a reading perspective as a superintendent, we have a lot of nighttime meetings. Yeah. And so my reading is in little pieces as I find moments.
Grab it. Yeah. Our time's up. We're actually over time, but that's okay. So
we're Facebook Live, so it doesn't matter.
I know, right? We could, but we won't. Okay. And so. We'll do it again, though. I think we're going every other month, so I think in March we'll be back. So.
Can I mention real quickly, we feel like the Facebook Live has been really helpful, because we've gotten a lot more people watching and a lot more people following up behind us than we had at our meetings when we had you physically at one of our schools. We will continue to do those physical meetings when we talk about zoning, because that really does bring people out, and we need that direct interaction. But I would be curious about y'all's feedback about how this works compared to the old method of having something in an auditorium.
I like it. So I hope everybody else does. So thank you. It was good info once again, and thank you for joining us.